All right. The Sort of Sports Podcast presents The Big Salad.
If it was a regular salad, I wouldn't have said anything. But you had to have that big salad!
Hosted by the one and only Quinn Maseko.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been 2 weeks since we've talked to you last, so we'll revisit March Madness. Have 5 toss-ups to play today. Feature Ryan's special segment. Our first Seinfeld section. And close out with Happy Time. But we begin today with reacting to the Baylor Bears win in the NCAA Championship game. Ryan, what'd you think about that?
Well, we all know that I thought Gonzaga was going to win it. And I'm still really shocked about the Baylor thing. To be honest, I thought Gonzaga was the better team. Just Baylor had a big night. They came out hot. That was the big storyline, is that Baylor came out hot and they couldn't be stopped. And you got really lucky by picking them. I guess I probably cursed Gonzaga.
Well, I only picked them by 3, and they ended up winning by more than 3.
Yeah.
So I guess I will say my heart wanted Gonzaga, but my mind wanted Baylor.
Yes.
That night.
Yes.
So they played very good team basketball that night. And I think really the Baylor Bears were boosted by being 5 for 5 from downtown to begin that game.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were not 5 for 5, if they were 1 for 5 or whatever, that's a closer game right there. But Mark Few, like you said, he's going to be another asterisk on the undefeated. So.
I thought about this quote the other day, like when I watched them lose. I was thinking about what I said, where I said, if they win, he is brought up for the rest of his career. If they lose, he's just another graphic.
Right.
And that's how it feels.
Right.
Now, here's the thing, though. We don't have this written down, but Gonzaga just got Chet Holmgren. The number 1 prospect in the nation has just went to Gonzaga. Chet Holmgren. You know who this is?
Huh? Yeah, sorry.
All right. Chet Holmgren, the number 1 prospect in the entire nation, just committed today to Gonzaga.
Yes, I did see. Okay,
yes.
I did see that.
So what I'm saying is,
a couple transfers.
Yes,
too.
Gonzaga is building themselves to be on the level of a Duke, a North Carolina. To be honest, I think they're arguably the biggest program in the nation right now. They're going to have back-to-back years with the number 1 seeds probably.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
They're going to have.
But Suggs is leaving though.
Suggs is leaving, and also quick plug: my big boy Kofi Cockburn declared for the draft. And, I mean, he could go later in the NBA draft, and I think he could be a stud under the right coaching because he's such a freak in nature. But that's a story for another day. Go Cavs. Go get Kofi Cockburn. He's so good physically, you can just teach him the game. But Gonzaga, I think, has officially made themselves a power team. And
a new blue blood.
Yeah,
I like to say. There are old blue bloods and there are new blue bloods.
Yes.
And there are new ones.
And I'm saying with them, we've seen recently number 1 prospects like Cade Cunningham, and before him, LaMelo Ball, but he went off and played in another country. It's a little different. But like Anthony Edwards is a top guy. He went to Georgia. We've seen this trend of like Ben Simmons, another one, where it's like you don't go to a huge basketball school. You just go to somewhere that's going to let you have a lot of playing time.
Right.
Which is like what Anthony Edwards, Ben Simmons, and them did. But then there's guys like Zion and RJ Barrett. Zion was ranked 3rd in his class. Zion I think was 2, and RJ Barrett was 1. And they both went to Duke, of course, and went to a big basketball school. So now we're seeing a movement back to going to a big basketball school. So I think it just depends on the player. And obviously Imani Bates, the most hyped prospect.
Yeah, going to Michigan State.
He's going to Michigan State. So I'm glad we're getting back to this best basketball players on the best basketball teams, because I think that makes March Madness more interesting. That's more interesting for coaching. And really the only argument against it is, well, they're just going to go one and done for these true blue basketball teams. But my argument is we get to see some darn good basketball while they're there.
Right.
Like, will Chet Holmgren probably go one and done? Yes, I borderline guarantee it. But in that 1 year, he builds Gonzaga's program, and most guys at Gonzaga are going to stay. He's an outlier.
Yes, they usually
and that's how it is at Michigan State. Imani Bates will probably only go there 1 year.
Right.
But all the other guys there will stay, and they'll have grown with Imani Bates. So I am completely excited for that Michigan State season. I will watch every single freaking game watching Imani Bates. And hopefully the Detroit Pistons get their draft pick for him. because it'd be quite the LeBron James story where you grew up in Michigan, go to Michigan State, play basketball. It would be quite the story. Quite the story.
I agree.
But we're getting a little off topic. That's my fault because I wanted to bring up the Chet Holmgren thing. By the way, quite a skinny guy. No wonder they call him the Slim Reaper. He is quite the freak of nature that way. He's like 7'1" and he shoots threes and he's
Right.
weighs
He's like Imani Bates, because Imani Bates, what, 6'11"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amani Bates, I think, is a lot more muscular. He's like slim, but he's muscular. Chet Holmgren is not super muscular. Yeah.
Right.
He's kind of an odd build, but he's one of the top guys, and I think it'll be really interesting because this year's draft, not the one that we're coming into next year's, I guess what I should say, with Chet Holmgren is very hyped. There's a lot of big guys coming through. And then, of course, year after that, you get Imani Bates. So these next couple years of college basketball, you're going to see a lot of big names, and hopefully they're going to be playing for the big teams. But what we were talking about earlier with the NCAA title game, I thought Gonzaga had the better players, the better team. It was just Baylor got hot. And like we talked before, the best team doesn't always win a March Madness. It's usually like the second or third.
Right, yeah.
And that's what happened. It's rare that the best team wins.
Best team wins, so, but...
Like Kentucky was probably the best team in 2015. They lost in the Final Four to a really hot Wisconsin team.
They did.
Villanova was probably not the best team in 2016. They just got hot.
Right, it's all about the timing. Just like UCLA. I mean, they were not the best team to make the Final Four.
Oh, heck no, but Johnny Buckets.
And they could have made it to
They could have made it to the national title.
If they wanted to.
I think if UCLA beats Gonzaga, they win the title. That team was rolling.
Well, I disagree, because you said that was the national championship. Whoever wins that game beats Baylor.
Yeah.
And that was a lie. So I guess I'd still be picking Baylor.
I guess you're right. Baylor did not have the best jerseys, though. Just saying.
Okay.
I really like the Gonzaga game.
I do, because they got the script.
Yeah.
They have the script, so I agree with the script.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I don't think... I'm trying to think. I don't know if Zaga's aways aren't script, but their homes are script, aren't they? Zaga?
I can't remember.
I
thought it was script. I thought that's what they had.
Their aways say Zags on them.
Yeah, and block.
Yeah, and block.
But I thought they were homes. I thought they had the script there.
I think their homes were script. No. I don't. They were both like regular font.
I don't know.
Was it a regular font versus regular font national title?
I guess.
I don't think Baylor doesn't wear script. I know that for a fact. I can picture that.
I don't.
Wow, that's really
I didn't pay attention
disappointing.
to that detail.
Well,
I was
another
more
thing.
shocked by Baylor winning. I mean, I wasn't shocked by them winning. I was shocked more about them destroying.
Yes, that was an
that's
incredible
more
game to watch.
important,
And Jalen Suggs, credit to him, he had the Patrick Mahomes type thing where it was like everybody on his team was not doing well, but you could see he was just trying to fight it. And
Right.
that's how it was Super Bowl 55 this year, where it's like Mahomes, even in defeat in one of his worst statistical games, he was not the biggest issue in that game. It was his offensive line and his receivers. And that's how I felt with Jalen Suggs, where it's like your whole team's falling apart, dude, but you're doing everything you can to keep him in it.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting, to say the least, about how the Bears came out on fire. I still say congratulations to Scott Drew. He's been at Baylor for a long time. He had good teams in the past, and he got the championship. So I think it was great. Mark Few, yes, I agree with Ryan. He's reloading. So we'll see what plays out. Already had a very early, way too early, top 20, AP top 25. Don't worry, Gonzaga was in the top. And UCLA is also in the top 5, because they're bringing back about everybody.
Johnny Juzang come back?
Yeah, that's what they have for now. So we'll see what happens.
Probably trying to push that draft stock.
Yes, yeah. Because he hasn't.
Quick thing. I know we've talked a lot around college basketball, but I do think it's interesting. Somebody said to me that like Zaga could go to the Pac-12 when I think they win the national title because they're playing better teams then. Thoughts?
No.
You don't think that helps them?
No, I don't think it helps or hurts them wherever they are.
Yeah.
They had the.
I do think there's an argument to be said where it's like when you play the Big Ten all the time, you'd think that, like, you'd be a better team, but we saw this year the Big Ten was the best conference during the regular season, and they didn't hit it in the tournament. It's just the tournament's the tournament. Like, there's no way to really compare anything to it.
Right. I agree. So, yeah, I mean, it was a wild ride this year, and I'm looking forward to a more normal season next year with with more games in the regular season to that, because I think that definitely impacted. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was more longevity. I mean, the players they're rested.
Yes.
They're more rested, and they and things are not, they're not as crazy.
Do we know where it is next year?
I thought we did. I know the women's is in Cleveland, so I will.
Maybe we should be going next year.
I will be going at some point.
We should go to the Final Four. We should go to the Final Four to Cleveland.
Yeah, you can go.
We are not. I really like going to Cleveland. I've been up to some Cavs games. Obviously, I'm a big Cavs guy, but I really like going to Cleveland. We should go. I think that'd be fun to go to the Final Four. I don't know where the men's is. If it's in Indiana, we could maybe hit them both. But that'd be pretty crazy.
Okay, well, because we'd have to go from one place to
Yeah,
another.
we'd have to go. We wouldn't even be going home, yeah.
Immediately. So, let me see.
The men's is... Well, the nice thing about going to the women's Final Four national title is it's going to be a weekend and not a...
Well, we'll just go to the Final Four, not the national
We wouldn't go to the
title.
national title?
No.
Usually the Final Four is better games than Nashville,
Yes.
for some reason.
Yes. Let me see. We're scrolling,
All right.
scrolling,
Quinn is now checking.
Scrolling.
It's really funny. We said earlier on this podcast, I want to say this really quick. Before we started filming, we were like, well, I guess recording. We were like, man, we don't have a lot of topics. It's going to be a short one. And then this first topic is taking like a good 15 minutes. We always end up hitting that time. Doesn't
It's
matter.
going to be in New Orleans.
Oh, we're not going to New Orleans. Oh, no.
Only if it's Mardi Gras.
Yeah, if it's Mardi Gras, then we can go down.
But,
We've talked about actually going to the Super Bowl when it's in Arizona in 2 years.
right.
But
Only
the caveat is that it
Steelers.
has to be Steelers. Now, granted, I might just go regardless, and I'll invite Quinn to come because I do want to go regardless. I don't even care
You
who's
better
in
start
it.
saving all that money from Aunt Mindy for mowing.
Save my money up, all the mowing money.
Oh, boy. But anyway, today, since that was our only big headline, it's time for toss-up, and we got 5 of those today. And we'll begin, I'll throw it to Ryan, in the NFL. Who should the 49ers draft? Trey Lance or Mac Jones?
Okay, I think they're going to go Mac Jones. Everybody's reporting, and I wanted to say it was officially reported that they're going Mac Jones by the main guy who always reports stuff. I can't remember. His name is slipping my
Adam
mind.
Schefter?
It was Schefter. Yep, Schefter reported it, and that basically confirms it. He said he would be blown away, I want to say, was the quote. If that changed. So I'm going to go, they should draft, I think, Trey Lance. Because Trey Lance is a high ceiling, I think it's a high risk, high reward situation with him. Where if you kick him right, you've got a guy with a cannon for an arm. You just got to get him down to making the right plays. Because in the wrong hands, he becomes... I'm trying to think of an example. In the wrong hands, he could become just an interception machine. Like a Jameis Winston on the Bucks.
Right.
That is what he could become, where he's all this raw potential being used incorrectly. But I like the Niners, and I like the system and their coaching, and I think they could take advantage of his talents. And if he doesn't pan out, you've got Grot.
Right.
And I think it's a really good setup to take. It's almost like the Patrick Mahomes setup, where you already have this good guy in Alex Smith, which is now Garoppolo's, I'm saying, for them, and you bring in this young guy who's got a lot of potential. He can mentor him, bring him in, and then I think Mac Jones is going to be a starting level quarterback as soon as he comes in, but really how good can Mac Jones be? I think Mac Jones is just Joe Flacco, a little better version of Joe Flacco. Not an insult to Joe Flacco, not an insult to Mac Jones, but he's got a Super Bowl.
To Mac Jones, but
I think Mac Jones is good, but I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback.
right. I think, obviously, my pick, I'm going to take Trey Lance.
Yep.
I think they should draft Trey Lance
Yep.
because I think it's better to go with these big stars from small schools because, well, number one, it's also because of the stereotype of Alabama and Ohio State. They do not produce good quarterbacks that are NFL ready. They produce great college quarterbacks because they can dominate the college game. That's where I think Mac Jones is. I know he's had 2 years experience. I just don't see him. He also played with 2 of the top wide receivers in the whole NCAA. So having that kind of power compared to the receiving core he's going to have on the 49ers makes it different. As well as the O-line. He probably played behind the best or the second best O-line in the NCAA football compared to what the 49ers have, which is okay. So that's why I don't think Mac Jones is there. He doesn't run. He's a pocket passer, and I think Trey Lance is that dual threat that can help the 49ers. And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan would like in his offense. But obviously, reports say he doesn't. But I still think they should draft Trey Lance.
I do think there's this big narrative running right now, and you and I will talk about this when we do our NFL draft preview. Kyle Pitts, and we're still discussing whether we're doing live stream or not. We're not sure yet. I don't think we're sure.
Do the draft next week?
What?
Next week. The draft is next week.
I know it's next week.
So that means we have to do our preview next week.
Yeah, next week.
Okay, you better. That's your special section for next week. You better get it planned.
It's not my special section. My special section is always a surprise.
Okay.
That'll just be a section. Here's what we can do. We're going to lay this out right now. We will do first 10 picks. We'll do our mock of the first 10 picks. You want to do first 10 or you want first 12?
We can do first 10, but then since you're a Browns fan, you got to pick.
I'm not a Browns fan. I'm a Panthers fan.
Well, whatever you are. I mean, you like the Browns still, so you got to pick for the Browns, and I'll pick for the Steelers.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, yes, a lot of my family's Browns people, so
Except
I do pay
for
attention.
your father.
So my father,
and
he's
your
Steelers.
sister.
My sister's
He's kind of both.
Steelers, Saints, whatever.
Steelers and
I'm
Browns.
Panthers.
And Browns.
And she kind of Browns,
Browns.
yeah. I'm Panthers. My mother's big Browns, and a lot of my family members are Browns. So I pay. And a lot of my good friends are Browns. It's kind of like me at the Indians, where I'm a Cubs guy, but I watch a lot of Indians because they're the local team, and a lot of people I know like them.
And you got one big Packers fan out there. I'm sure he's listening.
Aaron John.
I'm sure he's listening.
Aaron John's listening.
A.K.A. Young Fool.
Let's get to the next one.
Anyway, toss-up. Should the Browns trade or keep Odell Beckham Jr.?
I think this is simple. They got to keep him. And this is why. Do they necessarily need him? Probably not. But right now, his value is at the lowest it's going to be. Because he hasn't played a game since, week 4 last season? Maybe it was week 8.
I think it was they played the Steelers the first time, which that would have been week 6.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Early, not even half the season. And so there's really not a lot of value for him at the moment because he hasn't really had a crazy good season in a couple of seasons. So it's like I would work with him, try to see if he fits in your rotation. If he doesn't, give him a couple touchdown catches and move him. Because you're going to be able to move him better when people see that he can be a wide receiver 2 or 3 and they've seen him on the field. And right now where it's like we haven't seen him play. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's you're going to get a much better haul. And I think he hasn't. I've read a lot of stuff with the Browns that they really like what he brings to the atmosphere in the locker room, and that they seem to be pretty happy with him from a personality perspective. So I don't think there's really any reason to move him unless you think we don't need him in this offense. That would be really the only reason. And I would think you might as well run the offense, see how it goes. If you don't need him, move him. I do personally believe, though, that overall, within a year from now, he should be moved if he doesn't fit in the offense.
But here's my little question to you there, because Bud Dupree from the Steelers, he signed a massive deal, and he tore his ACL, and they have a question mark on how he's going to turn out for this season for the Titans.
Yeah.
So I still think they'd be able to get at least a second-round pick for him right now in his current condition.
I agree, but I think you might as well wait and see if you can get maybe a first, depending on how well he does.
Right, I guess. I'll take the opposite. I think the Browns should trade
right now.
OBJ. Right now. Because you want to know why? Because when I saw the Browns without OBJ, Baker Mayfield was under less pressure. He felt pressure to get OBJ his share of catches and yards throughout the game. And without him out there, and I think that's the problem, having 2 number 1 receivers here on the same team with having Landry and OBJ, that without him out there, he can just focus on Landry being the number 1 and still have his other options as well.
I think their offense is much better without him. I'm just saying right now you can get more value if you wait.
Okay.
That's my wrap.
So you're still in for trading him.
I think trade eventually if you don't need him.
Trade at a later date.
It's a caveat.
Okay.
There's a trade if blank.
Okay. So then that's okay. So Ryan's still on the trade, but he just says trade at a later date to see
if it doesn't work out.
If it doesn't work
out. But on this day, if Kevin
There's
Stefanski calls me tonight, I'm telling him to keep him.
A lot of contingencies right now.
Yeah.
Ryan's toss-up decision.
That's usually how it is.
2 answers.
That's usually how it is with my toss-ups. There's always a contingency.
I'll just say trade. Flat out. Trade him because I think the Browns are better off than him. But the Browns have an interesting turmoil on defense because they cut Sheldon Richardson.
Yes.
So
they did get Clowney.
Yes.
And that's
but
huge.
I don't know if Clowney, who's been injured and has not had a sack in a while, will be able to fill that hole of what Sheldon Richardson did, busting up the middle.
I will say, and we can talk about more of this at the draft next week, but the Cardinals, they look nice. They look real nice.
I'm interested to see that whole division in the NL West.
NFC West.
NFC West, I'm thinking baseball.
We're thinking baseball, yeah.
NFC West is It's going to be spectacular because Seattle's good.
Seattle's pretty
49ers
good.
should be have their era
Should be better, yep.
turning up. Cardinals, they were decent. But
Rams finally got a great quarterback.
And the Rams should be, as Tony Kornheiser says, quote, they're his pick to win the Super Bowl next year.
I think
Stafford.
I think it's them Chiefs is a really good money bet.
Well, I think Steelers Rams because that'd be the third time they played there. But that's me. So.
You know I'm high on Mahomes. You know I'm always high on Mahomes.
Yeah, I know.
I know,
but
until he disappoints me, I'll bet on him. He didn't disappoint me. The offensive line did.
He still lost some of his offense. I don't know. I personally think
until Mahomes shows me signs that he's not going to go back,
downgraded by cutting Eric Fisher.
I agree.
Instead of reworking him, and I think Tyreek Hill, I understand that he wants to get paid, but him not reworking his contract and pushing that to a prorated bonus totally jacked that up because they could have kept both those linemen.
Yeah.
If he would have done that. But that's
until the Chiefs show signs that Mahomes isn't going to go back to Super Bowl, I'm just going to keep betting on it.
Okay, we'll keep betting. And tell me how Vegas pans out. So.
I mean, to be honest, I think there's a better chance the Browns make the Super Bowl than the Steelers right now. Dead serious.
I think their odds are close. I believe the Steelers
I like
are
the Browns team
33-1.
a lot.
The Steelers are 33-1.
I think the Browns are nice.
I think the Browns are either 27-1 or 30-1.
I love Nick Chubb. I
do, but I think
he's so
what
good.
Are they going to do? You think they're going to keep both Kareem Hunt and him, or they say bye-bye Kareem Hunt?
If Kareem Hunt wants too much money, they'll stick with Chubb.
Right. I mean,
but
if
they don't have to pick, they won't.
Right.
So
we'll see. I don't know.
That's the new hip thing, though, is to have double running backs.
Right, but he's playing in his hometown.
Chubb's from Cleveland?
No.
Oh.
Kareem Hunt.
Oh, Kareem Hunt. Okay,
yeah.
I was about to say, I didn't think Chubb was from Cleveland.
I think you could get him for a hometown discount from a GM perspective.
I agree.
What's next? Which is the brighter future for Aaron Rodgers? The Green Bay Packers or host of Jeopardy?
Well, in terms of success, probably Jeopardy, because I'm not too high on the Packers. But they got to draft a wide receiver this year, please.
Nope. Another quarterback in the first round.
They're taking Kyle Trask. Well, to be honest, here's my thought. I watched the Jeopardy of Aaron Rodgers. Watched, I think, 2 episodes. I was very pleased with him. Thought he was great because the key to Jeopardy is like having a fun mannerisms, good personality, and being able to read those questions fast with a nice voice. You don't want knowing voices. But I think what Jeopardy is going to do is they're going to have this run where they get a bunch of viewership because, they're doing all these celebrity hosts. And then when it's all said and done, they're just going to have Ken Jennings be the host. I think that's what they're going to do because he won the greatest of all time Jeopardy thing. Right. So it all worked really beautifully. Right. So I think that's what they'll do. But I think when you're CBS, you look at Aaron Rodgers and you're like, people really like him as a game show host. He's great. Mm-hmm. And then you give him his own show. I think that's what they'll end up doing. Right. He will get his own
after he retires, though.
Here's my thing with game show hosting.
I think he can actually do it because
he can do both. He can do both. Right. The way game show hosting is, you spend a month or two filming every 5 days a week for 6 to 8 hours, maybe just a month, and you can bust out. You can bust out 30 episodes in a month.
Right.
And
it depends.
Yeah, it depends on how long the show is.
When back in the day, how they used to do it, you just recorded 1 day a week, but it was always 2-3 weeks ahead of when they aired it.
Yeah.
So you would record on usually Sundays or Mondays, and you would record all 5 for a week that day, and then you would break, and then you come back. That was your daily week. So what he talked about, I'm getting ahead of myself right now, but what Aaron talked about on Twitter was he was in Green Bay 178 days last season.
Yeah.
And he could film Jeopardy in 46, and that's plenty under the 365, sometimes 366 days you get per year for him to do both at the same time if they want him to go now. But
that's what I'm saying. I think when you're CBS, you look at Rodgers, you're like, he's great, but maybe Jeopardy isn't his thing because he was really good at Jeopardy, but I think they want it to be Jennings. It would be weird to go from Trebek to Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying there?
It would be, but
it would be odd. I think it's great. I think he's great, but I think it's kind of a novelty, and I think Jennings is the right move just because he won the greatest of all time Jeopardy.
Right.
It works really nicely, and I think Rodgers is perfect to have his own game show. Like LeBron, we've seen he has had game shows in the past. He had a thing where it was the $1 million race or something. I watched an episode. It wasn't that great.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're CBS, just give Aaron Rodgers his own game show, and maybe it's not a daily game show like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. Maybe it's a weekly thing. Mm-hmm. It's every Monday night. And he can record, he can figure out the recording schedule, make it work with his season, and boom, you've got a primetime game show.
Right.
And people would, and he's Aaron Rodgers. He's obviously a huge game show fan. He won the Celebrity Jeopardy a couple years back. You give him the right thing, he'd love it. So I think that's the move, is give him his own show. Once again, my question isn't straightforward. It's contingency.
As always, contingencies with Ryan Klinger. But I think his future is brighter with Jeopardy. You know why? It's because he will not be on the Packers after this next season.
Oh my gosh, you're serious?
He will be gone. But he will be traded to a different team.
They're going to Brett Favre him.
Not because he can't play like Brett Favre, because they have Jordan Love waiting in the wings.
I think Jordan Love's going to be good, but I don't know.
And compared, and just like Rodgers waited, 2 years until he took over for Favre? I think that's why. He's waited there 2 years, and they're going to move on, because that's who Matt LaFleur wants to put in as his quarterback. So that's why his future's better with Jeopardy, because he won't be on the Packers, because he'll be traded away. But I still like Aaron on Jeopardy.
Where would he go? Chicago?
Chicago? No. But
where would he go?
I'll tell you in a sec. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I don't care. He's just there are 31 other teams. He's not going to be there.
He's not going to go to the Jaguars.
Well, maybe he's going back to California.
I thought he would go to the Rams.
California.
If they were going to move him, they should have moved him this summer for the Rams.
Well,
this spring, I should say.
Well, maybe they say Mac Jones is awful. Groff's terrible. He's old and beat up, so we'll get Rodgers for the 49ers. Like they started that rumor mill earlier.
Maybe the Patriots say we like Mac Jones, three-way trade. And they get Groff. Like the Groff Jones go to the Patriots.
Right.
Which would make Bill very happy because we know he likes Mac.
Right.
They've talked about that.
Right.
And then maybe that's what... Whoa. What if that's the Niners' master plan?
It could be.
That they are going to move Mac Jones.
Now you're conspiracy. This is conspiracy.
This is full conspiracy.
You think they're conspiring?
They're going to move. They're going to say. They're going to say.
Belichick crap.
They're saying, "Hey, Bill, you want this?" And they're waving Garoppolo and Mac Jones in front of him. His two favorites. I don't know if he's that high on Mac, but we've heard that he liked Mac. We know he loves Gronk.
Right.
And they're like, "You want this?" And then they take. I don't know what they'd get. I don't know who they'd even run at quarterback.
But see, here's the thing: you already just spent $14 million on Cam. And it's
what
guaranteed.
if they're moving Cam? What if they're moving Cam? What if they're moving Cam?
It's guaranteed.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I do find that weird that I think it just hit me. The Niners have the two people we talked about with the Patriots.
Right. I think
that's odd. That's real odd.
Back to the question. I think Aaron Rodgers would be a great host, but I do see
yes,
Ken Jennings being
I
there.
got conspiracy.
I still think Ken Jennings will probably be the successor to Alex Trebek if he wants to be. But if they choose Aaron Rodgers, I'm okay with that because I thought he did very well.
Great.
He tweeted out about it, how he watched a lot of episodes to study Alex mannerisms and Alex's
delivery,
gaffes and his delivery and those kinds of things. So that's what I like. So we'll see. I don't know what they're thinking. I'm not Mike Richards, the executive producer. So
Jeopardy, I think, is a really special game show, and the way that it's very different than other game shows. Other game shows, I say, your biggest game shows are Jeopardy, probably Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud. You say those biggest three?
I think
right now in the cultural zeitgeist, those are probably the biggest three.
Right, but I think it's an unfair advantage because Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune have been in syndication for so long.
No, I agree.
But I think
if
you place this question back in the mid '80s,
we're
going to get completely different because Match Game is still relevant. Hollywood Squares, Password.
No, I agree. I'm saying right now though. You think those are the biggest three?
Yeah, because they're the biggest ones that are on.
Yeah, I find it very interesting with Jeopardy. It's Wheel of Fortune and Family Feud have this very much, and a lot of game shows. It's kind of an anybody can win type idea. Whereas that's why I find Jeopardy, the older I get, the more and more I like Jeopardy is because, you got to be pretty darn smart to be on Jeopardy.
Well, you do, but I think Jeopardy is dependent on the category.
Yeah, it's luck-based to a point.
Yes.
But you've got to be a high IQ person.
Family Feud is more on your personal knowledge about situations, applying it to a survey that was given to people.
Yes,
a nationwide survey. So you don't know who's taken that survey, so that's your risk there.
Jeopardy's all about studying and knowing facts.
And that,
which I find more intelligent, and I think that's really interesting. That makes it very different than other game shows, is it's you have to, it's not about guessing and getting lucky or thinking, maybe this. It's about your knowledge, just of facts. And I find that interesting about Jeopardy.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
It makes it very different than other game shows. A lot of game shows are very luck-based.
Right.
And this one is not. Like, really, the only category is luck.
Well, that and not match game.
Well, no, match games.
Or password
Match
plus.
games, it's a whole different beast.
Or password plus, because password plus, you were paired with a celebrity partner, and they had to give you clues that were synonyms to that word to guess, and then you had to solve a puzzle from those clues, those passwords that you guessed. So that is pretty knowledgeable of the English language and the thesaurus and those kinds of in a dictionary. Really, that's what you need to know is no words there. It's not facts, but you have to have the knowledge of the English language, so that's what makes
That's
it
what I don't know. I just hit me the other day when I was watching Jeopardy. I'm like, and that's the reason this show's so entertaining is because you feel like you learn something when you walk away with it, whereas Family Feud's whole goal is to make you laugh and entertain you.
Well, today's.
Yes, today's.
Because if you go back, watch some Richard Dawson Family Feud on YouTube, especially the specials because they're fantastic. But they are so much better. They're more entertaining because it's not canned humor. It's natural humor in the back in the day, and they're better. They're more entertaining. I think. That's just my opinion. But
that's what I find with Jeopardy, though, and I think I'll definitely. Obviously, the death of Alex Trebek has brought a lot more eyes back onto the product because people were kind of like in memoriam watching it.
Right.
And then now there's all these celebrity hosts. So like they're really going to be on a hot streak of ratings. And now they're going to get Jennings. People are going to watch Jennings if he becomes the official host, like I think he is, because that's what I've heard is going to happen. But what I've heard, I mean, like I've seen articles saying it's probably what they're going to do. And I think they just bring a lot of... When you're CBS, you've kind of got a big ticket here where Rogers does well, you give him his own show, then you give Jennings Jeopardy. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. See what I'm saying?
yeah, I know what you mean.
So that's what I think they'll end up doing, and that's what I think should happen, which, if everything ran my way, sounds pretty sweet.
Somebody hire Ryan Klinger as president of CBS right now.
Hey, they do have the best football coverage. They got Romo.
They had the best football coverage, but I like NBC. They have better...
They have better graphics.
Well, not graphics. I'm talking about NBC overall.
Oh, just in general and everything?
Yeah, I love NBC. That's my go-to.
I like NBC.
That's my go-to. If I have my TV sitting on something, like, just to sit throughout the day, it's on 4. It's always on channel 4.
I do like NBC's presentation of things.
Yes. So.
I think my least favorite...
is ABC.
ABC, probably. And they run a lot of more, like, sitcoms. Because they had, like, Martin Family and Blackish and stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas,
I watched
like,
Shark Tank on there.
CBS does, like, FBI and...
Yeah, which is off the creator of Law & Order, Dave Wolf.
Yeah, so, like, they do, like, more of the crime stuff. And then what's NBC? Is NBC Chicago Fire and all that?
They have, the Chicago franchise, so have Law & Order.
And then Fox just does Masked Singer crap.
Right. Yeah.
Fox, the only thing...
American Idol. Don't forget about Idol.
And they got some Friday Night SmackDown, which is pretty sweet.
Yes, they do. And they got Animation Domination on Sundays.
Yes.
Animation Domination.
So, I mean, overall, probably the favorite networks. Man, we really...
Anyway, we're going on.
We really went everywhere. I do like CBS, though.
We're wrapping up the TV talk.
Yes.
Because we're going back to toss-up because we got 2 more to get through. To the NBA now. Who will win the East in the regular season, Ryan? The Philadelphia 76ers or the Brooklyn Nets?
Think the Nets just got that end-of-game threat in the regular season where you got Durant, you got Harden, you got Kyrie, all guys who can finish out games regular season. So you're going to get that done, even though I think the Sixers are the better team from a team perspective. The regular season is usually won by stars because there's not a lot of pressure on them to do well. So if they want to step up and get it done, they can step up and get it done. So... there's such thing as regular season teams, where it's like the Raptors in some years, where they just work together really well as their team in the regular season. But I just think the Nets have a slightly better record right now. I think they're going to end up keeping it up, especially because I think Embiid near the end of the season is going to have to take some breaks because they don't want him hurt for the playoffs because he is their big stud. So I think the Nets.
I'll take the 76ers just to be...
And that one's non-contingency.
Different again. I'll be different again and take the 76ers because... the Nets, the issue I have with them is that their big 3 is not played
together
at all.
Yeah,
much.
Barely any.
And that's my thing, is they're going to still try to keep that, they're going to have to gel that chemistry together very quickly to get into the playoffs.
That's why I like the Sixers playoff odds a bit more, because if they don't gel properly, the Sixers are super well gelled, partially because my big man Shake Milton holding it down.
Yes. And... yeah, and
he's
the
not a
season
big
that
man,
Joel
he's like
Embiid
6'4".
has already said, but I had this year as well.
Yeah,
Joel Embiid said that.
Embiid has had an MVP level season.
Right.
It's him or Jokic now. It's basically a done deal. It's what we wanted to do.
Right. We're throwing it back to your last episode.
Yes.
But I'm going to choose the 76ers. I think they're going to win out the East to get the number 1 seed. I can see them. I know my colleague here is saying Nets-Lakers in the finals.
If I had to put money, that's not my official pick. That's not my official pick. That's just my odds pick.
What's your official?
My official pick would be
record.
Sixers-Lakers.
Okay, I'm going to go Sixers, but I'm taking Suns from the West.
I would love that.
Suns.
That would be so good. Here's my thing, Quinn. I really don't want the Lakers. I really don't want the Lakers, but I feel like my judgment is being clouded by my hatred. And I can't let that happen. I'm a man of the people, a man of my word. So I'm going to say Sixers-Lakers, but I'm going to go in with the Sixers because I think LeBron might get injured. He's starting to get injured more often all the time. He's never been this injured a bunch in a regular season. And I'm starting to think he's starting to fall apart a little bit, and I think maybe the Sixers take advantage. Doc Rivers is going to get that second title. I think that's possible. I'm serious. I really like the Sixers.
Yeah.
My thing with the East, though, is I wouldn't put it past a team like the Heat or the Bucks to just get hot and then win the title.
Right, and the Heat they're heating up now. The playoffs.
They're a completely different team with Victor Oladipo. Completely different. And they're a very good team.
Now, what's going to happen for the Hornets? I mean, are they going to be able to get out of the abyss?
If the Hornets can get LaMelo back in time.
Are they in the playoffs right now?
Yeah. They'll make the playoffs.
Tournament? Are they in the play-in tournament
right now? I think they're not right now. Here's one team that I would love to see make a hot run. New York Knicks. Come on. Everybody loves the New York Knicks. They're the feel-good story. Big man Julius Randle.
But your
most watchable
your
team.
Impersonation of old Blue Eyes is not...
New York? Wait, what?
Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Start spreading the news.
Yes.
I'm like, you're New York. You got to work on your New York better.
Okay.
New York.
That was much better New York. You're right, Quinn. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I just did it off the cuff here.
That was off the cuff. Off the cuff.
Off the sweatshirt cuff. So, but I am officially confirming these.
Well, I know the Knicks, I think, are 3rd or 4th right now in the standings. Let's check. Read them off to me, Quinn.
All right, in the East, Philly 1, Brooklyn 2, Milwaukee 3, Atlanta 4, which is surprising.
That's
Boston
gross.
5.
That's gross.
New York 6, Miami 7, Charlotte 8, Indianapolis 9. It's just Indiana, but it's Indianapolis today. And Chicago 10.
Okay, so the Raptors and Washington I don't think will make it unless something crazy happens. So I think the Bulls have a really good chance to be in the play-in tournament and be a team that moves into the playoffs. But the Knicks, I wouldn't put it past them to get some more wins. The Atlanta Hawks are the number one.
Tied.
The Atlanta Hawks are the number one most fake team. Number one most fake team in that entire thing is the Atlanta Hawks.
But they're jumbled together because there's only a half game that spaces out.
I know. I'm telling you right now, the Atlanta Hawks are complete fakers and do not believe in them at all. They're not good. I've watched Atlanta Hawks games. They're not good. And the West, read them off.
The West. In the West, Utah 1, Phoenix 2, the Clippers 3, Denver 4, Lakers 5, Portland 6, Dallas 7, Memphis 8, Golden State 9, San Antonio 10.
Here's what I'm going to say. I would love to see Phoenix make it to the finals. I think Denver is actually a really good pick if you're going to put money on it. But I just think LeBron in the playoffs is going to...
Jamal Murray now, so I
don't know. Yeah, that hurts.
Don't like it.
LeBron in the playoffs, I feel like he's going to try to jet and get that 5th title. But I think he's going to run into the Sixers. I would love it if Utah or the Suns made it.
I agree.
But I can't bet against the Lakers until I've seen a reason not to. Does that make sense?
I do. It's called they're all injured.
We can see. We'll see.
So, but I think one thing I'm going to plug in for is that I think New Orleans is regretting firing Al Gentry. They should have kept him.
I don't even think it's that. Here's my thing with New Orleans. I don't know why they hold Zion back, but they do. And that's why they got rid of Gentry, because he's holding Zion back. Well, they've started to figure out. They've started. I know. They've started to figure out how to run Zion, and I like that. But now they're figuring out, oh crap, we've really just got him, Ingram, and Lonzo, and everybody else here is not that good.
Well, they got to find more pieces.
They got to get pieces. So if you might as well trade Brandon Ingram to Charlotte and try to get some pieces, because I know Charlotte would love to have him.
Right.
So I'm saying that's me getting off of my tangent. But I just get a little disgusted by not the Hornets. I love the Hornets. The Pelicans, because you've got Zion. You are set up to have your LaMelo Ball type setup where you just immediately become a playoff team, and you fumbled the bag. So the Hornets are great with LaMelo. Everything they're doing there, they've completely turned the franchise around. They're the most relevant they've been in probably their entire history, maybe since Larry Johnson. But speaking of, Zion is literally just plays like Larry Johnson, but that's a story for another time. The Pelicans completely miffed that opportunity, and now that spot has gone to the Jazz and the Suns, where you're the young team going to the playoffs. Both of them.
Right.
And I love the way the Jazz play basketball. Love it. So good. And the Suns are so good. I just get scared that LeBron's going to drop like 50 on them. And I would love to see me be wrong. Please prove me wrong. Please have the Lakers not even win the Western Conference Finals or even be in it. I would love that. But I got to go Sixers over Lakers.
You know how it goes on this show, folks. He curses them, and then it comes back to bite him. It's always the opposite.
Maybe I'm doing it on purpose this time. Maybe that's why I'm saying Lakers in the finals, so it doesn't happen.
All right, we'll see. But now we're on to our last toss-up. Over to Major League Baseball. Who made the better play? Joey Votto or Mookie Betts? And before Ryan begins, we'll put up the play with Joey Votto here.
High kick. A rope caught by Votto. Makes the tag in the belly. And a little slow coming home. A head-first slide. Rosario in. And they get the line drive double play. And they get the three. A miss at home and a triple play.
John, I can say I have never seen that in my life. A bullet to first base, Joey Votto. Tags Reyes there. Sees the guy, scores, but wait a minute. Did he tag up? No, he did not.
Joey Votto makes history.
And now here's the play from Mookie Betts.
Gonzalez is 0-1. Swatted to right center field. Diving play. A walk-off catch. Mookie magic.
All right, Ryan, which one do you think's better?
Oh, man. I think from a skill perspective, it's got to be Mookie, but you got to love a triple play. You got to love a triple play. You and I are both Ohio natives. We both know I hate the Dodgers. I'm going to go with Joey Votto, triple play. My girlfriend's a big Reds fan. You're a big Reds fan.
I am.
We got to go with the Reds, triple play. That was sweet. And plus, it was an Ohio battle.
Right, battle for the Ohio.
And that was a great series.
It was.
And we got a Shane Bieber start. And if you're not watching Shane Bieber games, you got to tune into Shane Bieber games.
Is he your early favorite for Cy Young?
I took Giolito in my predictions.
And he plays for who?
The White Sox.
Okay.
I'm very high on the White Sox. My World Series prediction, you haven't finished the podcast from last week, but I'm going to tell you right now. Do you want me to spoil it for you or not?
Just hit it with me.
I took White Sox over Braves in the World Series.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know you don't like that, but I love the White Sox.
I'm going to take Padres over, I don't really care who's in the AL.
Yeah, because the AL is not as good, yeah.
I'll take Padres, even though
Say White Sox. Take my White Sox. Take my White Sox. Okay.
I was totally ragging on you about the Yankees earlier, and I'll take Padres over Yankees.
Okay, you do that.
Just to do it.
All right, well, I'm saying this. I think that's a big money World Series, by the way. The biggest team in baseball against one of their biggest stars, if not their biggest star in Tatis.
Right.
My favorite player in the MLB. My thing with the Padres was I wanted to take them, but I think the Braves have the bats out the wazoo.
They do.
And
Freeman.
they got Acuna, Freeman,
Yeah.
a guy I can't remember the name of that's really good that I talked about on the podcast. I can't remember the name of. He's good. Ozuna. They're so good from bats. They've got a young, hungry bullpen. I love the Padres bullpen. But to me, the Padres, I took the Padres over the Dodgers in the DS, and then in the pennant, I had them losing to the Braves. And part of that is, it was a coin toss. I think the Padres could definitely win the World Series. I would be shocked if the Padres don't win a World Series in the next 3 years. Shocked. Because they are set up so well for it. So that's
experience.
But I'm saying the White Sox are nasty. But if you were going to say, put a gun to my head, you have to bet $100 on a guy to win the Cy Young, I'm going to go Bieber. But I did take Giolito because I think Giolito is going to have a crazy season. Lucas Giolito, he just threw a no-hitter the other day for the White Sox.
He had 2 no-hitters in a week, I think.
Yeah, it was Musgrove and him. And Musgrove's great. Oh, man, he's good. But, yeah, I'm saying Bieber, you got to watch Bieber games. He's like DeGrom, where it's just so much fun to watch from a pitching perspective. He's great. And also, the Indians just have great pitching coaching. They keep pumping out great pitchers. Like Clevenger's great too. Like, they just keep pumping them out. And
they get rid of them.
Yeah, they get rid of them because they're the Indians. They don't keep anybody good. But Votto had the great play. I prefer Votto's play, and even if they were both wearing Reds uniforms, I'm gonna go Votto because the triple play.
I'm gonna take Mookie Betts because it is Here's the problem, folks. Votto's play was a game-saving play because it looked like the Indians were they had runners on the corners here.
Yeah.
All right, no outs. It looked like it was going to be disaster for the Reds, and they were going to blow it open from their 2-1 lead. And next thing you know, it's a line out to Votto. He gets the runner at first because they are off the bag, and then the third base runner didn't even tag up and gets him a third. It was so great because there's that awkward pause in the middle of this play. And then he gets him, and then it's like, yeah, I got the triple play. But I'm going to take Mookie Betts because this is a game-winning play. The Padres have runners in scoring position.
They're both game-winning plays pretty much.
Yeah, but the Reds were still down. So that's why it's not game-winning yet. But it's game-winning for Mookie Betts because the Padres had runners in scoring position on both second and third. It looked like a double in the gap, in the right center gap there. And here comes Mookie Betts flying from center field against the shift and diving and making that catch.
It was an amazing catch.
If not, that is going into extra innings right there because they would have scored both those runs.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I saw something a while back, and it was like, can you name me a sport that's more obvious where you can name the two best players in the league so easily? Where it's like, the two best players in MLB, Trout, Betts. No arguments. It's very clean, cut and dry.
What happened to Bryce Harper?
Bryce Harper's like 10th or 12th.
What about Tatis?
Tatis, probably, I'd put him 4th, 5th.
Okay.
It's like, in my rankings, it would be Trout, Betts, Acuna. Some people don't want to include Tatis, who's never actually played a full season. But Trout, Betts, Acuna, probably... What? You're holding...
Okay, how can you not say that about the NFL when people will argue right now it's Mahomes and Brady as the two best?
Because he's played 3 full seasons.
It's the two best right now.
Oh, yeah, those two best right now. Yeah.
But you just said there's nobody easier except the MLB.
People try to tell me all the time that Russell Wilson's better than Mahomes.
Well,
and Aaron Rodgers.
No,
I've had people tell me Aaron Rodgers is better than Mahomes.
Russell Wilson
See what I'm
is
saying?
better than Brady.
Cool.
Wilson's better than Brady, but they gotta let Russ cook in the kitchen.
That's
Russ
my
is
thing.
not a cook.
That's my thing with the NFL. Is the NFL so people get so situation based in the NFL where this is a whole other conversation we're going into where it's like people are like, oh well, if he had this weapon, he had that weapon. Baseball's so cut and dry because of the way it's played. Where it's like you go up to bat against Mike Clevenger, you get a hit. So-and-so went up to bat against Mike Clevenger and did it. It's that simple.
Right, it's cut and dry.
It's pretty cut and dry, so it's pretty easy to be like, yeah, Trout, Betts, Acuna, Tatis, Yelich, except for last year for some reason. Lindor, those are your top guys.
Right.
And then it's like, for pitchers, DeGrom, Garrett Cole, Bieber. Easy. Top 3. Put them in any order you want, but it's DeGrom, number 1, Garrett Cole, 2, Bieber, 3.
No Trevor Bauer.
Bauer would be 4th.
No Kershaw.
Kershaw's fallen off. Bueller's 5th. Walker Bueller's better.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know. I haven't watched as much baseball as I should, but I should be watching
I watch
more.
a lot of baseball.
America's
I love
pastime.
baseball.
It's America's pastime.
But what I was saying, though, is people, that's what's so weird to me about football is people get so situational with it, where they're like, well, he's got so-and-so, they've got this. And I think that's very true. We've seen that with like guys like Ryan Tannehill, where, you know, you get put in a different situation, you do better.
Right.
But with baseball, it's very cut and dry, so it's very easy to be like, yeah, Mike Trout, that's the
But there
best.
are still, I think
by far, it's Brady Mahomes. It's been that way for the last 3 years. But,
right.
I mean, we saw the NFL themselves.
But I'm talking about the baseball here. It's like 70% cut and dry. It's still 30% skill. There are better hitters because they have better awareness of the ball, or they know their hitting zones better, or they practice more.
I'm saying
still skill there.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's skill. I'm saying it's cut and dry, as in like it's pretty obvious who's good, who's bad.
Right.
Because the stats don't. Baseball is the most stat accurate sport.
Sure.
Like when you get into stuff like wins over replacement, stuff like that, you get into the really deep metrics.
Right.
Those things hardly ever are wrong. If a guy bats 300, he almost always goes 1 for 3. Doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
It always, yeah.
It almost always works that way. If a guy gets 1 walk, 1 hit, it almost always works that way. I see you have high school sports all the time. Like, I've got girls on the softball team I know that almost always bat 2 for 3. Almost every game, they bat 2 for 3.
Right.
Like, very consistent sport that way.
Right.
And you don't see too many things break that. Whereas basketball, you can have 40-point night. Next night, you have 3 points. Just the way it is.
Right, and it averages out to be 21.5.
Yeah, and it's like, and with football, if you're not with the right receivers, you're done. And I agree with the argument. If Russell Wilson was on the Chiefs, he'd do better. But I don't think that takes anything away from Mahomes. I think if Mahomes was on the Seahawks, I think he does better than Wilson right now. I'm serious. I really think Mahomes is the best other than Brady.
We know.
I know. I'm saying I get sick of people trying to tell me Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson. I mean, the NFL themselves ranked Lamar Jackson number 1 best player in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what are you freaking doing?
Yeah.
If you're going to say anybody that's not anybody other than Mahomes or Brady, the only argument I'll listen to is Aaron Donald. That's it. That's the only guy I'll listen to saying he's the best player in the NFL. Because he's so good statistically from a defensive standpoint. If you look at the deep stats on him, it's pretty nuts.
No. TJ Watt's better.
You think TJ Watt's better?
Because he's beat him out statistically the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, yeah.
And he gets screwed again with not getting
I agree.
Defensive Player of the Year. So that's another conversation for another time.
It should have been him. I actually liked Garrett better than Donald.
But he didn't have the numbers.
No, he didn't.
He didn't
but
have the numbers.
if you watch the games, you see
He
Garrett.
was out because of COVID. And plus, he was really affected by COVID after that diagnosis because he was just not physically there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But, all right. That's it for toss-up. Now we're moving on to our second week of Ryan's special section. Ryan.
All right, so the key of the special section is, it's always a surprise, and I actually had something prepared that I'm going to have to hold on to another week because Quinn didn't include the best news of the week. Can we get a little bit of a clap going on? I need you to clap. Keep clapping, keep clapping. The Carolina Panthers traded for Sam Darnold. Hallelujah. Keep clapping, keep clapping.
I'm done clapping.
You kept it off. You kept it off. I don't know why.
I forgot about it.
Biggest news of the month.
2.5 weeks
Biggest
ago.
news of the month.
2.5 weeks ago. How
Biggest
can I
news of the
remember
month. I don't know why not more people are talking about
American.
this.
It's instantaneous news. It's gone. It's already gone. It's been 2.5 weeks.
The more and more I think about the Darnold move, the more and more I love it. Because it's a low-risk, high-reward situation. We didn't have to give up any first. The biggest thing we gave up was a second-round pick for next year. I don't think Kyle Pitts will fall to 8. I love Kyle Pitts. That's things that we got to talk about next week, though. I'm in love with him. Kyle Pitts. I hope he falls to 8 and people get greedy for quarterbacks, but I don't think he will. But I'd love to have him. Love to have him. At the Dolphins and maybe flip, but I think the Dolphins like him, and that's why they're going to take, unless they take Devontae Smith. But Darnold, I think I cursed the Panthers because I said a while back that I don't think he's the issue. I think the Jets are. And lo and behold, 3 months later, he's now on my team. So if he does well, I'll be buying a Sam Darnold Panthers jersey for Christmas. If he does badly, I won't.
Are you buying one for Christmas? Somebody's
going to get me one for Christmas, what I should say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Santa will bring it to you.
Yeah. But
I love Santa Claus.
Sam Darnold.
It's the embodiment of Christmas giving. And that'll be the giving to you.
It'd be Sam to Darnold. Sam to Darnold.
Yes, Sam to Darnold. Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Pretty exciting. But I'm very excited about Sam Darnold. I think it's a great move. Number one, I love Matt Rule, the Panthers coach. I've just been really happy with the way this organization's been going. They're going more aggressive, but they're not doing dumb moves. And I'd actually rather have this move for the Panthers than Matt Stafford, just because we're a younger team. Mm-hmm. And I think a guy like Sam Darnold you develop with is better. I think we actually could make the playoffs this year because our division's kind of weak. And granted, people are going to be like, your division's weak. You have the Saints, the Falcons. Well, I'm not high on the Falcons. The Saints could have a weird year just between what they're doing, figuring out what they're doing. Saints could have an odd year. Mm-hmm. And the Bucks are the Bucks. So that's scary, but we might be able to make a wild card bid.
Right.
I'm just saying, but we are set up the best for the future out of those teams. I don't know. From a quarterback perspective, I do think I like Darnold better than I like Jameis Winston just from his track record.
I think if there's a good plug and play for the Bucks, they can keep that team high rolling.
And they got Shaq Barrett back. He's great.
Yeah, they got most of that defense together. So
well, that's the big thing with the Bucks, their defense.
It is.
we talked about before, Shaq Barrett should have been Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
But they want to give Brady for what it meant.
Right.
It was a career achievement. Yeah.
Symbolic.
But basically, I'm saying I'm super happy with the move. I think it's really going to pay off, and hope for a wild card because I am extremely high in the Panthers team, and Christian McCaffrey's going to be healthy. They're going to have Mike Davis back. It's going to be great. So, very excited. Very excited.
Yeah.
All right.
I forgot about it, but
It's good because I just moved into my special segment, so it all worked out.
yes, it worked in the special section for Ryan on Sam Darnold. I'm just glad the Steelers did not trade for him. Thank you, Steelers. So, thank you, Art Rooney.
I'm pretty happy. We'll see how he does.
Yes, I'm looking
I'll be
forward
glued
to
to this television.
I'm looking forward to it as well. So,
And that's all you'll hear
can't
about
wait
if he
for
does
Sunday
well, so be
ticket.
prepared.
Right, I know. I can't. Well, him and Patrick Mahomes. So I'll have to. Be
I
back
love
with Big
Mahomes.
Ben.
He's so
I'll have to
good.
be back with Big Ben, and we'll see what happens in my black and gold. But all right, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna do a new segment this week, and it is our Seinfeld segment because we are both big Seinfeld fans, and obviously
Both
this
big
is
Seinfeldians,
called,
yes.
Obviously, this is called the Big Salad, which is after a Seinfeld episode in season 6.
And famous quote,
So,
you had to get the big salad. I mean, he's at least famous to us.
well, yeah, it's famous to us. It's all the Seinfeld fans out there. So this week we're going to talk about season 7, episode 4, The Wink.
Every week we'll cover a new episode that we pick randomly. Just usually it'll be whatever's on TBS. Once
Right.
Seinfeld moves to Netflix in June, we'll just do whatever we want because we can just tune it into
Right, 'cause
Netflix.
We can pick
So feel free to kind of watch along with us, watch afters, and we'll have our thoughts. Right now we've got some little things we're going to talk about from the show, but I think over time we'll get more of a rhythm and figure
Right.
out what we're going to talk about every
Right,
episode.
we're just dipping our toes in.
Dipping
right
our
now.
toes
We're
in,
gonna
but I think
plunge in-
eventually
we're gonna
we'll be
plunge in
swimming
later.
laps.
Right, we're gonna plunge in later on. But so in this episode, The Wink, what happens is Jerry turns healthy.
Yes.
Okay, and he's eating grapefruit at breakfast, and he gets a piece of pulp from it into George's eye, so it's just winking uncontrollably because it's trying to get it out. So it goes on, blah blah blah, and talk about this later on about what happens throughout. When in the beginning, Jerry is dating, because Jerry always has a new girlfriend.
Every episode, Jerry's got, and there's always some dumb reason they break up.
Right. So Jerry is dating Elaine's cousin Holly,
Yes.
and so they start talking about dating, and Jerry says,
First big moment of the episode.
yes, and hopefully, maybe we'll get the clip up here for this, because I do like this clip.
Yes.
Can we get that clip? Okay.
Yes.
So then Jerry says, Elaine's like, well, I'm sorry. Jerry asks Elaine, how many people do you think are good looking? And she says, 25%. And he's like, no way. It's a 4 to 6%. It's a 20 to 1 shot. And she's like, what?
How are all these people getting together?
No, well, before that, she
yes.
says, this is the best part. She says, you're telling me that 95% of the population is undateable? And Jerry goes, undateable! And she asks, how do you think all these people are getting together? And Ryan.
And he goes, alcohol.
But.
And then George walks in and the scene continues. But
Right, as
that
they find out about
yes,
the wink. But,
that segment, that part of that show, I think there's a lot of episodes in Seinfeld. You can see a moment that was like, it doesn't fully fit within the episode. It's kind of random. And I think that was something I felt like Jerry, being a stand-up comedian, thought
it
of.
fits in the episode because
No,
Elaine
it fits in
is going
overall.
out with the guy, with the phone call guy, that her wake-up service.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's a deaf date. And that's not a deaf date, but it's a blind date because it's a setup because
Yeah.
we have not seen it.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, though, is like, overall, if that's not in the episode, it still makes complete sense. Like,
Right,
it doesn't
right.
carry the episode,
Right.
but it's a really funny gag. I feel like it's one of those that Jerry was sitting around and he thought of this as like a stand-up bit. Where it's like, it's a 20 to 1 shot, and then he was like, I'm going to work this into the show, and I think that's how that went.
Right.
My favorite, I'm going to ask you what your favorite moment from the episode was.
Okay.
But my favorite moment, overall in the entire episode, I got to admit, I love the George Steinbrenner moments at the end of the episodes.
Yes.
I love those. And with
Steinbrenner.
Larry David originally doing the voice of...
Steinbrenner, yeah.
Yeah, he also does Steinbrenner at the beginning. I love the scene at the end. George Costanza comes in after accidentally getting his friend Morgan fired from his wink.
Yep.
And he's like, a lot more work for you now, George. Not more pay, a lot more work. And George's like, yes. And there's this great moment where at the end he goes, had a lot of people go over the years. And he names a bunch of Yankees players. And he names one...
And managers.
Yes. That was on the team at the time. And he goes, hey, George, don't say
Buck
anything.
Showalter, because he was the
Yes,
manager.
yes.
Buck was the manager, and he said that's his last one, and he's like, because he kept going repeating Billy
Yes,
Martin.
yeah.
Billy Martin. And he says, Buck Showalter, and he's like, George, You didn't hear that from me, and George gives him an okay sign, and he goes out the door.
And what was funny was, and like a month or so later, he was fired.
Yes.
And everybody was like, "What did they know something?" And Seinfeld and them thought it was hilarious that ended up happening. That was quite the prediction.
Yes.
But you're gonna cover up what Elaine did in this episode.
So Elaine, 3 episodes ago in the season 7 premiere, she was having issues at her apartment where this dog was barking continuously throughout the night where she could not get sleep. So in that episode, I'll ruin it for you now, her, Kramer, and Newman rent this van and kidnap this dog and drive it all the way up to Monticello, which is literally almost 3 hours out of the city. And then overnight, the dog runs all the way back. So Elaine has this fear of dogs, so thinking they're all after her now.
Yeah.
So Elaine, after Jerry invites himself to dinner with her and her cousin Holly, that he stuffs his pocket full of mutton because he kind of turned healthy and wanted to stop eating red meat. So then she takes his coat to go home, and all these dogs are going up and growling to her because she doesn't know the meat's in there. So then it's so funny because it enables her fear. But then she finds out later from Jerry that he had meat in those pockets.
Mutton. The mutton.
Yeah. And she said, I had dogs chasing after me, which is funny. So that is what Elaine did there. But
what would you say? I'm sorry, I'm taking over the host duties all of a sudden. I didn't mean to. I gotta ask you, what was your favorite Kramer moment of this episode?
Okay, so Kramer and George's moments are actually combined here. So we're not doing a George moment today, but it's basically they're combined.
Yes.
Because George had this inner office envelope at the Yankees where he had to get Mr. Morgan's signature. He was the last one to get on a birthday card from Mr. Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
So then Kramer misinterprets George's wink and takes that envelope and he's going to sell it to his buddy Stubbs at this collector's place. And he finds the baseball card signed by all Yankee management and Yankee players. So he sells that for $200 and gets George the $100 back. So anyway, after George finds that out, Kramer has to go get it. So what's so funny is that Stubbs framed this thing and gave it to this kid that's, I don't believe he's dying of cancer, but he's in the hospital.
They don't really specify it. You just know it's a terminal illness.
He just said it's a terminal illness. So he goes in there and he's talking to Bobby and he's like, I know some of the Yankees, blah, 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 pulling his weight around from George's.
Yeah.
And so he says, so he's like, so Kramer's like, well, I really need you to do something for me. And Bobby says, yeah, get out of this bed and walk one day. And Kramer says, no, I really just need the card back. So he makes this crazy promise. And he says, Paul O'Neill, he can hit a home run for you. And he said, and Bobby says, can he hit 2 home runs? And he says, well, sure. I bet he can.
Yeah, that he says it.
So he gets into the Yankee locker room talking to Paul O'Neill, saying he's going to hit 2 home runs, which he does. So he hits one over the fence. But the second one, it's almost an inside the Parker. It's rumbling around the wall, blah, blah, blah. So he gets ruled at the end for a triple and an error to the fielder. So then Bobby's like, hey, that's not a home run. And Kramer's like, Bobby, it's the same exact thing. It's just as good. And then Kramer promises again that Paul O'Neill will catch a fly ball with his hat in the next Yankees game. So then he tries to tell George after he gets the card back, he tells him that. But it is hilarious how the scene goes. So you have to watch the wink.
Just for the Kramer. Just for the Kramer.
The Kramer.
My Kramer moment, mine's just a small thing. They cut to him sitting in the hospital with this boy that he barely even knows, just sitting there watching the Yankee game. Like, who let him in?
No, he has no parents. Bobby has no parents.
No parents there. He's just there hanging out.
And one of the best parts too is when they're watching the game, and Kramer's like, "Can I have a drink of juice?" And Bobby's like, "No," and not until he hits a home run. And then he hits one, and he gives him the juice, and Bobby's like, "1 more to go," and Kramer's looking at him like, "Woo!" like all crazy, like, "Oh, I really just hope it happens." But yes, it's funny. It is very funny.
It's a good episode.
It is
definitely a good one to just, pop on. It's very rewatchable.
Yes.
And the wink thing with George, I really like episodes where George's the main one. I think George is really fun to carry the story because Jerry's so good to reaction.
Yes.
Jerry's so good at reacting to the crazy crap George has going on. So I think that's one reason that episode is so good.
Yeah, but that's it for our Seinfeld segment this week. And now it's time for Happy Time, people. Happy 74th birthday this past Friday, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, known as Lou Sender in his younger days, won 71 straight games in high school. After he was recruited to UCLA, and in this time, don't forget that freshmen were not allowed to play on the varsity team, that once Kareem was on the varsity team at UCLA, he won a three-peat of championships with Coach John Wooden. Kareem was then drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks in 1969, where he won a championship there in 1971. He wanted out of Milwaukee, and he was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in 1975, where he spent his last 14 seasons there. He became a 5-time NBA champion with the Lakers, thanks to the Showtime Lakers, ran by Magic Johnson, and the high-potent offense, coached by Pat Riley. After that, he later became the career-leading scorer at 38,387 points when he retired in 1989, and then became a cultural icon when he was appointed to be a global ambassador in 2012 under then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and then awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom under President Barack Obama in 2016. But one thing is not talked about enough about Kareem is that he should be considered the greatest of all time outside of Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
More than Kobe?
And Kobe.
Okay, I was about to say, I feel like the top three for everyone is LeBron, Kobe, MJ. There's obviously the Celtics fans that are going to yell Bill Russell, and there's going to be Lakers fans that yell...
And Larry Bird.
Yeah, there's Celtics fans that yell Larry Bird. But I think the pantheon of, if you're going with your GOAT-level guys, it's Russell, MJ, LeBron, Magic, Bird, Kobe. I think some people can make an argument for Wilt Chamberlain.
No Kareem there.
I said Kareem.
You did not say
Kareem.
Kareem.
Well, obviously Kareem, and then I think there's an argument for Wilt Chamberlain be the 8th. But there's really nobody else up there that's on that level of success, both from team and singular. Personally, I truly believe it's Michael Jordan. He's got this sort of mythos about him that I think all the greats have, where there's... Babe Ruth obviously has that because it was so long ago, where Babe Ruth has this, aura... And with football, I think Brady has some of that, where there's kind of this mysterious level to Brady, and Gretzky has this magic to him when it comes to hockey, and I think MJ really captures that. Whereas LeBron, I don't want to get on a big tangent about LeBron versus MJ, but LeBron, as I told you earlier before we recorded, I think MJ's the GOAT because you knew he was great. LeBron isn't because he has to tell people he's great. LeBron's always constantly trying to prove to people that he's great, whereas MJ was great. But Kareem's definitely kind of become underrated over time because he's a big man. He played in the 70s, and as we talked before, 70s NBA is pretty darn crazy. And I think people kind of don't really think about him as much because he was paired with Magic Johnson, who is the more popular player in the cultural zeitgeist. People love Magic and Bird. Mm-hmm. So, Kareem, an incredible scorer. It was an unstoppable move. They've had to change the rules because he was so dominant. One of the
in college basketball.
I think there's an argument that him and Wilt Chamberlain are the two most dominant offensive players ever.
Right. That's why he had that iconic skyhook, because they banned dunking.
Yeah.
Because of him as Lou Alcindor in college, and he kept that skyhook as one of his favorite and most iconic post moves of his 20-year NBA career.
And I'm saying he's got a lot of great moments, a lot of great championships. And he got to play with two of the best point guards, Oscar Robertson and Magic Johnson.
Right.
But, yeah, we talked about Kareem earlier on the podcast. We've talked about him before with UCLA stuff. And definitely one of the greatest. And you really don't want to see LeBron break his scoring record, but I'm worried he's going to.
I don't. But
his injury history lately has been scaring me.
Right. What is so crazy about Kareem, this is more about Magic Johnson than Kareem, but in 1980, in the finals, NBA
the
finals.
Famous story, yep.
All right. Kareem was injured. So then Magic Johnson played center for that.
As a rookie.
Yes, as a rookie.
For that whole game.
For that whole game, and came out and won that series.
They won that finals, yep.
Yeah, so that's one of the most amazing things, even though Kareem, he is a part of it.
And this is coming from a Big Bird lover. You like Bird a lot.
Magic Johnson's my favorite.
You like Magic more? I thought you liked Bird.
I like Bird, but I like Magic Johnson.
You prefer Magic?
Yeah.
I think I prefer Bird just because he's so unique.
The Hick from French Lick.
Well, my thing with Bird is he was an incredible passer. He was an underrated defender. He was an incredible scorer. He could shoot from anywhere.
Yep.
Magic's the greatest passer ever. No questions asked. Easily.
Over John Stockton.
I love John Stockton. Completely love John Stockton. Arguably my favorite
I'll put
point guard.
Stockton then Magic. On
No,
the
I can go with
pass.
Magic. I think Stockton is precise. I think Magic could pass his way out of a box.
I think Magic is my favorite all-around player. So that's me.
Magic's pretty great.
He was a score.
Part of the thing though with Stockton is it's like if you cut Malone from that team, is he still kicking it around? Like he's obviously got Hornacek, but like
Well, yeah, he's gonna be decent.
he's going to be good. But I mean, you can make that argument with Magic.
You don't have the mailman.
If you take off the whole Showtime Lakers squad and just leave him AC Green, I still think he gets a lot of assists. I think Magic he was just magical.
Right.
I mean, you can see those highlights. There's one they always like to run on ESPN where he put the ball in his hand like it was a waiter plate and just kind of flipped it out of his wrist to a guy. It's like, he did some crazy crap.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation, though, Magic versus Bird.
About Magic versus Bird. But, anyway, happy anniversary this past Thursday to Jackie Robinson. On April 15th, 1947, Jackie Robinson made his Major League debut for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And as always, we celebrate the anniversary in Major League Baseball of the inaugural game that broke the color barrier. Jackie Robinson changed the game of baseball fundamentally through race relations. And without him, there would not be Hank Aaron, who would would break
in the 70s.
Babe Ruth's career home run record. So
60s. It's 60s, though, isn't it?
No.
It's 70s. It's early 70s? Okay.
So, but anyway, it's always great to see the MLB, everybody wearing 42 that day. It's the only universally retired number.
You know the photographers are always all over it on that day,
right,
too. We get some great pictures every year. Acuna blasted a home run with the 42. It was great.
Yes. Just a plug, if you haven't ever watched the movie 42 with Chadwick Boseman, you need to watch it because it's fantastic and it's interesting to see that environment, and that's why it's so amazing 25 years later when Hank Aaron breaks Babe Ruth's career home run record, how integrated integrated America changes their reaction to him being the
and this
top
is back
player as a black man.
back when MLB, baseball in general, was the biggest American sport by far, and having an African American player really showed the change in culture. But that quick thing about movie 42, absolutely great movie. It's got my favorite actor ever in Harrison Ford, and one of my favorite actors in Chadwick Boseman. One of his best movies. He's made so many great movies, and
a lot of good biopics.
he's in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. He's in that.
I think he had a James Brown biopic too.
Yeah, he's in. I think he's not in 12 Years a Slave. I don't think that's the guy.
That's Lee Butler.
Yeah. But he's in another movie that was really good.
Forrest Whitaker's. Lee Butler was the writer of 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker was the actor.
Yeah, and Chadwick Boseman, of course, is most famous for his role in Black Panther, which he absolutely kills it in. Just gotta say, he's great in that too. Chadwick Boseman is just absolutely incredibly talented actor, and it's really a shame that he passed away recently. But he's wonderful in that movie.
He was also Thurgood Marshall in a biopic as well. The first African American Supreme Court justice.
Yeah,
so
he's great.
He had a list
between him and Michael B. Jordan. They just got so many good movies biopics because Michael B. Jordan made Just Mercy.
Yes, Just Mercy is great.
Which you told me I have to watch that. Yes, and I love Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
I love Michael B. Jordan. If you have not
watched Just Mercy out there, if you're listening, you need to watch Just Mercy.
And watch Creed. If for those of you, everybody watch Creed too. I know you haven't seen Creed. You got to watch Creed. The Rocky. It's the 7th Rocky movie with Michael B. Jordan playing Apollo Creed's son. It's so much better than you thought it'd be because it's directed by Ryan Coogler. I haven't watched any
Rocky movies.
You don't even have to. Just watch that.
I watched Rocky 3 once, but I'd want to watch the whole franchise. So.
Well, back to what I was saying about 42. There's a scene I love in it in which Harrison Ford, who plays Branch Rickey, is on the phone with the Phillies manager.
He's from Ohio, by the way.
Yep. Ohio Wesleyan University. And he's on the phone with the Phillies manager, and he's like, we're not playing you this season. And he goes, all right, Herb, do you think God likes baseball? And he goes, well, I mean, I guess. And he goes, well, someday you're going to meet God, and if you tell him that you didn't play the Brooklyn Dodgers because they had an African-American, I think he says Negro, as one of their players, I don't think that's a sufficient answer. He hangs up the phone. And then they end up playing the Phillies.
Yes.
And I just love that scene because it's just Harrison Ford gets real peed off, and he's just like, come on, dude.
Right, and that's the biggest altercation that
Jackie Robinson
has.
And what's great about that scene is Alan Tudyk plays the guy who ends up using lots of racial slurs towards Jackie Robinson. Yeah, from the Phillies.
Ben Chapman.
He said he had a lot of trouble with that scene because he just felt like gross afterwards. Like he felt terrible.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a really interesting thing. And that scene, it feels gross, like watching that scene.
Right.
It's a really well done scene.
Right. It is, because it's trying to emulate race relations of the 1940s.
It is an incredible film. I think it's not just a great sports film. It's a great
cultural film.
Great cultural film and a great historical dramatization film.
Right. It's a good biopic.
Good biopic. That's the word. That's the word, biopic, where it's like it's not a documentary, but it's also historically accurate. It's a great film.
So.
A lot of people have seen it. Like I've talked to a lot of kids.
Right.
A lot of kids I know, a lot of people I know have seen that movie because it was a great film. Love that movie.
So, but finally, happy trails this past Saturday to the Cleveland Indians beating the Cincinnati Reds. In the ninth inning, Josh Naylor, first baseman for the Cleveland Indians, misplayed a routine ground ball that led to an open door for a Cincinnati Reds comeback. And as the announcer said, he Bucknered it, as in Bill Buckner from Game 6. And here's the play for you to watch right now.
Still got to hit it.
Luplow in right field. Ground ball again to first base, and it gets through Naylor. Schrock challenges for second. They have to eat it. Head first, slide in, and the Reds cling to life. The tying run in scoring position.
Well, another ground ball to the first baseman, and it looked like Naylor just started running towards the bag. Didn't really take his eyes off the ball.
So, yes, it is 35th anniversary of Bill Buckner doing that, having that air in the World Series.
Do you want me to show the Bill Buckner one too? You just want me to show you the Josh Naylor?
Here, we'll show the Bill Buckner one right now.
Wow, there we go. We showed them both.
Yeah, so now it's compared. Now you can compare from each other. But, yes, so that's what happened to the Cleveland Indians. They end up losing in extra innings, which is okay to my Red Legs for the Battle of the Ohio Cup on Saturday.
Great series, though. Great series.
Yes, great series to open up the Ohio Cup this year. So
Joey Votto has been. We just got to give a quick shout out. Joey Votto has been great. So,
yes.
quick thank you. Quick thank you. I don't know if this will become a thing or not, but quick thank you to Joey Votto. He's been great. So that's my thank you for the episode.
The Canadian Wonder.
Thank you, Joey Votto, because you've been an absolute delight, and I've always heard Red fans my entire life be like, "Well, we've got Joey Votto." And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then this season, I'm like, oh, crap, he's cracking. Absolutely cracking.
He always has a high on-base percentage.
So thank you, Joey Votto. That's my thank you for this week.
Yes, so that is it for episode 5 of The Big Salad. Join us next week, hopefully, for our next
NFL Draft Preview.
Yes, our next episode. Good night. This is Quinn Maseko speaking for the Big Salad Podcast, a Ryan Klinger production. Please note that portions of this podcast were edited before the final cut was produced. The sections of Toss Up and Happy Time are copied from the ESPN show Pardon the Interruption, along with clips taken from Bally Sports, MLB Network, and Seinfeld were used in the airing of this episode, and there was not an intention to infringe on any of those copyrights for these segments and their related music. Stay tuned for our next podcast next Monday here on the Sorta Sports Podcast YouTube channel.